Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
We begin tonight with a look at the temporary ban on visitors implemented by the New York Department of Corrections in response to the continuing spike in COVID cases in the state's prison system. Matt Kleindens joins us in Corning with the latest on the new restrictions.
Good evening. New visitation rules went into effect this afternoon, leaving inmates and their families searching for alternatives. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision instituted a temporary ban on visitors to its 52 state prisons. The visitation ban comes after an increase in COVID cases among inmates and staff members. In total, 577 people in the state's prisons tested positive for COVID-19 in the past 10 days, about 1/5 of the total number of cases in the prison system since the start of the pandemic. About 450 staff members have also tested positive in the same 10-day stretch. Visitations have already been suspended in 8 prisons prior to the latest announcement. The state previously instituted a similar visitation ban during the first wave of the pandemic. Those rules were lifted in August when COVID protocols were relaxed in New York. According to the Department of Corrections, inmates will be given at least 2 free phone calls through at least January. They'll also be given 5 free stamps and 2 credits for electronic messages. Reporting from Corning, Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC.
Governor Cuomo announced modifications to the state's quarantine guidelines yesterday afternoon. Residents who are exposed to COVID-19 will now have to quarantine for 10 days instead of 14. This matches up with the CDC's latest quarantine guidelines. If residents go the full 10 days without developing symptoms, they're free to exit quarantine. However, there is a caveat to that rule.
But if at any point in time during those 10 days, a contact should develop a symptom, then they need to stay in quarantine for the full 14 days.
Contacts will still be monitored by contact tracers through the 10-day quarantine to track symptoms. Individuals are asked to keep an eye out for symptoms once they exit quarantine. We were first to report about the new strain of coronavirus making its way across Europe. We suspected it was already here in the U.S., and now it's confirmed. COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker has the details.
With the new strain of coronavirus comes plenty of fear, concern, and worry, and rightfully so. With COVID-19 cases already spreading at record rates across this country, a faster-moving version of the virus is the last thing this country needs. But just as health officials had suspected, the new coronavirus strain is here in the United States. The first confirmed case identified in Colorado. Now, officials in that state are investigating a second possible case of this strain, and the two may be connected. The patient in the confirmed case is a 20-year-old man who lives in rural Elbert County, Colorado. That's about an hour and a half outside of Denver. He never traveled outside of the country, but his case and the suspected case are both from National Guard members. They were recently deployed to Good Samaritan Society Nursing Home in Simla, Colorado. That's just outside Denver. Officials say right now they're not sure if both patients contracted the virus there or somewhere else. This new strain is about 58.8% more contagious than the previous versions that are still infecting thousands of Americans every day. There are actually 17 different coronavirus types circulating amongst the population, but none have been as highly transmittable as this latest variant, officially known as the B.1.17 variant. It was first found in the United Kingdom in September, then soon emerged in other European countries before yesterday's discovery that it was also now in the U.S. Another new version of coronavirus that recently appeared in South Africa has now been found in the United Kingdom. That has not yet been identified in the United States. One thing health officials in several countries have confirmed is that the Pfizer and Moderna versions of the vaccine will still be effective against this latest coronavirus variant. I'm COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker reporting.
The Transportation Security Administration says more than 1 million people went through airport security checkpoints for the 4th day in a row on Tuesday. Also, checkpoint traffic exceeded 1 million people in 8 of the last 12 days. Sunday was the single busiest day of the pandemic. That's when nearly 1.3 million people got screened. The spike in pandemic-era travel raises public health concerns. The lowest point for travel in the pandemic was April 14th. Only about 87,000 people flew in the U.S. that day. New coronavirus cases are soaring, hospitalizations are surging, and the death toll is mounting. But as bad as it is, experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci do warn that January will be worse. President-elect Joe Biden echoing that message as he prepares to assume office against the backdrop of a raging pandemic. Nadia Ramiro in Washington with the latest.
The next few weeks and months are going to be very tough.
As the U.S. suffers through the worsening coronavirus pandemic, President-elect Joe Biden is preparing to take office and warning Americans to brace for difficult weeks ahead.
We have to anticipate that the infections over the holidays will produce soaring cases counts in January and soaring death tolls into February.
Speaking in Delaware Tuesday, Biden laid out his administration's plans to take on the virus, including boosting the vaccine distribution effort and expanding testing.
After 10 months of the pandemic, we still don't have enough testing. It's a travesty. That's why I'll propose a COVID action package early next year and challenge Congress to act on it quickly.
Biden, urging unity, called on Americans to do their part by social distancing and wearing masks.
Masking has been a divisive issue in this country, but COVID is a killer in red states and blue states alike. So I encourage you all to wear a mask.
The incoming administration also hoping to lead by example to convince people to get the vaccine.
It's about saving your life, the life of your family members, and the life of your community.
Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris presenting a clear contrast to President Donald Trump, who has not spoken publicly about the pandemic in recent days and is facing criticism for a slower than promised vaccine rollout. In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri says he will object when Congress counts the Electoral College votes next week. The move will force lawmakers in the House and Senate to vote on whether to accept the results of President-elect Joe Biden's victory. Hawley is the first senator to announce plans to object. Both the House member and senator are needed to mount an objection when Congress counts the Electoral College votes on January 6th. In the House, a group of Republicans led by Congressman Mo Brooks of Alabama has already pledged to object. Trump has been pushing for Congress to try to overturn the election results, as his campaign attempts to overturn the election through the courts have repeatedly been shot down. 20 states are raising their minimum wage rates by January 1st. It's part of previously scheduled efforts to adjust for cost of living gains or to ratchet up toward goals like $15 an hour minimum pay. The minimum hourly wage in New York State will increase 70 cents to $12.50 an hour. The wage boosts come at a much-needed time for many Americans, especially for lower-wage workers that have been hit particularly hard by the economic fallout of the pandemic. However, some lawmakers and business organizations have called for a pause on the scheduled minimum wage hikes, citing the burden on small businesses that are already struggling. A rift among Republicans is putting pandemic relief money for many Americans in jeopardy. President Donald Trump is calling on his party to approve bigger relief checks, but right now it's up to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and he's not playing ball. Here's Caitlin Collins with details.
Tonight, Republican senators are feeling the heat from the very top.
We didn't expect to be in session this week, but we are.
President Trump now says unless Republicans have a death wish, and it is also the right thing to do, they must approve $2,000 payments ASAP. $600 is not enough. That tweet is forcing Senate Republicans to decide between defying the president or getting behind bigger stimulus checks, which many in the GOP initially resisted, but a growing number are now supporting. That includes David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, two Republicans just days away from a heated Senate runoff in Georgia, who both sided with the president today.
I've said absolutely we need to get relief to Americans now, and I will support that.
I fully support what the president is doing right now.
The fate of the stimulus checks is now in Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's hands, who offered no clarity today but blocked an effort by Democrats to vote on it immediately.
This week, the Senate will begin a process to bring these three priorities into focus.
Democrats are eager to take advantage of the Republican family feud.
There's one question left today. Do Senate Republicans join with the rest of America in supporting $2,000 checks? Now, some of my Republican colleagues have said they support the checks, but there's a major difference in saying you support $2,000 checks and fighting to put them into law.
Senator Bernie Sanders is vowing to hold up a vote to override Trump's veto of the massive military bill unless they vote on the $2,000 checks. And his frustration spilled out on the Senate floor today.
Do we turn our backs on struggling working families, or do we respond to their pain?
McConnell said the Senate will vote on whether to override Trump's veto of the defense bill tomorrow, potentially setting the GOP up for its first major rebuke of the president during his last days in office.
Failure is simply not an option. I would urge my colleagues to support this legislation one more time when we vote tomorrow.
The House passed an override of Trump's veto on Monday, causing him to lash out on Twitter today, saying weak and tired Republican leadership will allow the bad defense bill to pass, a disgraceful act of cowardice and total submission by weak people to big tech. With the stakes in Washington higher than ever and the financial stability of millions of Americans on the line, the president spent today, like he has many others in Palm Beach, on the golf course.
Meteorologist Kim Walker has your forecast for New Year's Eve right after this.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. We do have a few flurries, a few snow showers that will remain for tonight, but by tomorrow, I'm expecting much calmer conditions, and you could say this is the calm before the storm because the next storm system is starting to take shape in the southern plains, and it will continue to progress to the northeast, setting the possibility of icy conditions by New Year's Day. But for New Year's Eve, it looks like it's going to be pretty calm conditions. Temperatures around 29 degrees, mostly clear conditions at 6 o'clock by 8:27, and then 25 degrees at 10 o'clock with partly cloudy skies. And those clouds will start to really thicken up by midnight with a temperature reading around 23 degrees. So it's going to be quite cold. Hopefully you aren't going to be standing outside, but if you are going to be up and out and about, it is going to be quite cold out there. You may need an extra blanket because those temperatures will really dive down. But the storm system I was telling you about that will be taking shape in the southern plains will start to progress to the north. And so by Friday, the pink that's showing up, that's the frozen precipitation that we're expecting in the form of freezing rain. Of course, as it hits surfaces, it will really coat it. And so we're talking about coating, an icy coating on power lines and also on roads. So it's going to make those roads slick, and not only that, it could bring some power outages. So you want to be prepared for that as we head into the new year. So the rain and the snow will be coming in at around Friday and then progress to the north. So for Corning, we are expecting it to arrive during the day on Friday. So for tonight, any moisture that's left over because of those cold temperatures, we are expecting it to be mainly in the form of snow. But notice around 7 o'clock in the morning, all that precipitation moves out. Clouds will stick around, but that will give way to a little bit clearer conditions in the afternoon. And then by 6 o'clock in the evening, it looks like things will be on the clear side as you get ready to ring in the new year. It looks like maybe just a few passing clouds at around midnight. And then really notice the purple that's showing up from the south at around 3 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. This is the freezing rain that will be moving in. So again, we could have some icy conditions early in the morning hours. So if you have to go to work or you have to do anything outside, just be careful out there because there's going to be a lot of ice around. So it looks like around 6 o'clock in the evening, all of us will be in on the action from Hornell to Corning to Elmira up to Ithaca. And then as we head into the midnight hour, as those temperatures will be kind of waffling, all that could be changing over to rain. As you notice the green that's showing up. So a little bit warmer conditions bringing that rain, but then we are expecting maybe it getting a little bit colder, and so that rain or the moisture will refreeze. Tonight, temperatures dropping down into the 30s. Highs tomorrow only around 37 degrees in Corning. We're going to stay in the 30s through your Friday with that possibility of freezing rain. A little bit warmer on Saturday with a high of 47.
It happened after Thanksgiving, Labor Day, and Halloween. A surge in COVID-19 cases after the holidays. Mandy Gaither has more on how to ring in 2021 safely in today's Health Minute.
Over the last week, more than 7.1 million people were screened at TSA checkpoints despite CDC warnings to stay home for the holidays.
We could be rolling into February with the events of Christmas still impacting us, even with this vaccine coming out.
Now the concern has turned toward New Year's. The CDC says the safest way to celebrate is at home with people you live with or virtually with friends and family. The agency says travel and gatherings with those who don't live with you can increase your chances of getting and spreading COVID-19 or the flu. If you host a celebration or go to one, talk before the gathering to set expectations. Keep celebrations outdoors if possible. If indoors, open windows and doors. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces. Have guests bring their own food, drinks, plates, cups, and utensils. Keep background music volume low so guests don't need to shout, which may lessen airborne particles. Use single-use options like condiment packets and limit the number of guests. Some health experts suggest less than 10 people, and get a COVID test beforehand.
Your level of protection is as strong as your weakest link, and if you're a weak link, then the virus is going to spread.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
For many people, being indoors during the pandemic can be a challenge. One teen in Alaska realized that what she needed was to be outdoors. Taylor Clark has more.
She's just having all kinds of fun. I can see the smile on her face right now.
That's Rebecca Tyler they're talking about on the loudspeaker. A lot's happened since then, like COVID-19, which she says took that smile away for a little bit.
And I definitely struggled with motivation. I had a lot of days where I didn't get outside and I didn't feel like going outside or doing anything like that.
One day over the summer, she says she woke up in her house in Girdwood, snapped out of it, and got her fat bike out.
It's been really important for my mental health, I think, and that's kind of why I started this whole thing, was just because I think that fresh air and just like clearing your head was so important for me.
The thing she's referring to is this website, Big Air Becca. She says it was a school project to learn about web design at first, and now it's dedicated to raising funds to help other kids do what she did and go outside.
Anything from gear to like transportation or instruction is really what we're kind of all about.
By selling merch and collecting donations, she's already raised about $1,000.
Come here.
Some of which definitely requires some adult supervision.
She's not old enough to have a bank account or a credit card processing platform, so I'm just getting some of that stuff set up on her behalf.
Ethan Tyler says that's about all he did. Although he is the guy that got her excited about being outside in the first place. When this video was taken, he didn't know such a good, big idea would come from that little skier.
I think stand behind your kids when they've got big ideas, and you'd be surprised at what they come up with.
Especially when it's about helping others.
I think it meant a lot to me is mostly what it was. It was more than just like a school project.
One she says won't be done after it's turned in.
And now for the latest headlines from the world of entertainment, here's Douglas Hyde with the Hollywood Minute.
Los Angeles County is asking Hollywood to suspend work due to a catastrophic surge in COVID cases. The county's Department of Health is urging the film industry to voluntarily halt productions for a few weeks and avoid high-risk activities. No word yet on if any will comply.
You really should have told me that you're like Prince William of Asia.
It's hard to keep a low profile when you're a movie star, but Crazy Rich Asians actress Constance Wu has been able to keep a big secret for months. She's a mom. Her rep revealed to E! News that Wu and her musician boyfriend Ryan Katner welcomed a baby girl over the summer. It's the couple's first child together.
Don't give up. Just keep in there. Just keep fighting. Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid.
Sir Anthony Hopkins tweeted an inspiring video message on the 45th anniversary of his sobriety. The veteran actor and Oscar winner talked about his successful fight over alcoholism and encouraged everyone to stay strong as we look forward to 2021.
A Happy New Year. This is going to be the best year.
In Hollywood, I'm Douglas Hyde.
Okay, this is a fun one. Think you have good taste in music, but others tend to disagree? Now you can validate your style or find out if it's totally cringeworthy thanks to a new bot. The AI that's billing itself as sophisticated is thanks to the digital publication Pudding. If you give How Bad Is Your Spotify permission to access your account, it will analyze your choices and offer thoughts on your musical taste. If the bot sees too much music from a certain artist, it will promptly let you know. It will also react to some of your most played music, asking if you're okay. We want to leave you with a smile tonight. The Louisville Zoo has more to celebrate this week than just the new year. They've also had the pleasure of welcoming a new baby seal pup. It is the first pup born to the zoo's 6-year-old gray seal, Rona. According to zoo staff, the birth was smooth with no complications. They are monitoring the mother and child closely, but giving them enough room to bond without distraction. The pair will be off exhibit for several weeks as the bonding process continues. The pup's gender isn't yet known and will be determined with a neonatal exam later. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.